I never expected a weekend trip with my father to change anything. For years, we'd lived in the same house like shadows, present, but so far apart it hurt. When my mom died, grief didn't pull us closer, it scattered us. He buried himself in work, and I buried myself in silence. Then, one early spring morning, without much discussion, we both seemed to know we needed to leave. "Let's go somewhere," my dad said, standing in the doorway of my room with an overnight bag already in hand. "Where?" I asked. "The coast. We'll just drive." There was no big speech, no explanation. We simply packed one bag each, loaded the car, and drove away from our house in Willow Creek, hoping the sea might give us the words we didn't seem to have for each other. The drive was mostly quiet. A few passing comments about the wildflowers blooming along the roadside, or the way the sun kept hiding behind the clouds. My dad's hands gripped the wheel the way they always did when he was trying to keep his mind busy. But as we reached the edge of Haven Port, a small beach town with weathered cottages and a harbour full of fishing boats, something inside me shifted. The dunes rose up before us like old memories. And then, just beyond them, the ocean appeared, wide and silver under the shifting spring light. The smell of salt and blooming wild roses rushed in through the car windows. I didn't realize I had been holding my breath until it escaped me in a long, slow exhale. We parked near the shore and stepped out. The sand was cold and damp beneath my shoes, but I didn't care. I looked at Dad, expecting the same distant expression he'd worn for years, but instead I saw something softer in his eyes. He smiled, a small, quiet smile, and nodded toward the waves. We walked side by side, shoes dangling from our hands, pant legs rolled up as the surf nipped at our ankles. My dad pointed out small shells, pieces of driftwood, bits of sea glass glinting in the tide. He told me about the first time he'd come to this very beach with my mom, how she had laughed at how cold the water was even in July. For the first time in years, I laughed with him, really laughed. As the sun began to sink, painting the sky with streaks of gold and lavender, we found a weathered old log and sat together, watching the horizon. The waves crashed in steady rhythm, filling the silence with something that didn't need words. Then, without warning, my dad reached for my hand. My breath caught. It was the same hand that once steadied me as I learned to ride a bike, the same hand that used to sneak me popcorn during movies, the same hand that had held mine at Mom's funeral when I thought I might crumble. I squeezed it back. He didn't say anything, but he didn't have to. That night, we built a small fire on the beach. Sparks shot upward into the dark sky as we sat close, warming our hands. I told him about my job, my fears, the dreams I'd never voiced to anyone. He listened, really listened, like every word mattered. Then he told me about his own youth, regrets he'd carried, the quiet loneliness he had felt since Mom's passing. The firelight flickered across his face, making him look younger somehow, or maybe just more open. In that moment, we weren't just father and daughter anymore. We were two people who had carried pain for too long and were finally beginning to set it down. The next morning, I woke to the sound of the ocean just outside our cabin. Dad was already outside, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the horizon. I joined him without a word. We sat there in silence, watching the sun rise, and that silence felt like a promise. We wouldn't let things slip back to how they were. "This was a good idea," he said quietly. I nodded, too choked up to answer. The rest of the weekend moved gently. We visited the small town market, wandering past stalls selling hand-carved trinkets and jars of homemade jam. I bought a simple necklace made of sea glass. And when I asked if he liked it, he said, "It's beautiful. Just like you." It wasn't something he said often. But in that moment, I felt seen. Later, sitting on a bench by the harbour, I finally found the courage to speak. "I missed you," I said softly. He looked at me, his eyes glassy. "I missed you too," he whispered. "I'm sorry I wasn't always there." He reached for my hand again, and this time I didn't hesitate. We sat like that for a long time, the breeze tugging at our hair, the silence saying everything words couldn't. That night, we went back to the beach one last time. The sky was streaked in lavender and rose as the sun slipped beneath the sea. My dad turned to me. "We'll do this again," he said. "More often. Life's too short to wait." I leaned my head on his shoulder, tears quietly slipping down my cheeks. "I promise," I whispered. Then he pulled a small, worn notebook from his jacket pocket and handed it to me. Inside was a folded letter, his handwriting neat and careful. "My dearest, from the moment you first held my hand to the woman you are now, I've watched you with awe. Your laughter, your kindness, your strength, these have been the best parts of my life. I haven't always known how to show it, but please know I'm proud of you. Always." My vision blurred as I looked up at him. "This means everything," I said. He didn't answer right away, just held my gaze. "You don't have to say anything," he murmured. "I just wanted you to know." Back at the cabin, the rain began tapping on the windows. We curled up by the fire, wrapped in blankets. Our laughter was soft and familiar, like it used to be. The next morning, as the road unwound before us and the ocean disappeared in the rearview mirror, I glanced at him. He caught my eye and smiled. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for this." I smiled back, heart full. "Thank you, Dad, for coming with me."